Hello, everyone. My name is Kim Hayworth from the Facebook page Good News Daily and from the website to come, goodnewsdaily.info. And today I'd like to chat with you a little bit about seasons and how seasons in nature can also reflect the seasons in our lives. And right now we're in the second week of June. We're ending within 10 days the season of spring. And even though kids may be getting out of school and it seems like summer hasn't actually begun until June 20th. So let's talk a little bit about spring. And in spring is a season of renewal. It's when you start to see the buds of the things that have been planted in previous times, in previous seasons. Those things start to bubble to the surface. We start to see things bloom that were planted prior, maybe in the fall, maybe in a previous year. And maybe perhaps we're planting seeds for things that we would like to see in the summer or fall, that we would like to see harvest of in our lives. And I've really liked Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine because they take into consideration different elements within nature and different seasons within nature as they relate to our health and to our own lives. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they look at spring as the element of wood as it affects our organ, the liver. And liver is oftentimes holds anger, or can also reflect, as those things are processed and healed, can reflect patience in our lives. So this is the season when those things become evident. And if those things start coming to the surface, this is the perfect time for those things to release and to be replaced with something even more beautiful. Summer is the season that's almost here, and summer is a time of growth. Summer is a time where you start to see some of the results of the things that you planted. Not completely usually, but you start to see them. And it's more of a coming forth. In traditional Chinese medicine, it is the element of fire, and it relates to the organ, the heart. And it also reflects love and hate and joy. So if you feel these emotions starting to come up, allow them, embrace them. This is the perfect time maybe to find some resolution with those things in your lives that are related to those emotions. And I think it's very interesting how those things come up at specific seasons for a reason. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they always also look at late summer as a different season. They look at it as an element of earth, affecting the organ, the spleen, and the emotions of empathy and worry. So that is also another time we look at it as Indian summer, or sometimes excess heat from the summer gets put into this late summer. So consider that as part of maybe what you're going through in your own life. Feeling some heat about things that you're going through. Maybe some growth of things that you've been hoping for, that you've been waiting for, and are starting to see the examples of in your own life. And then in the fall is often a time of harvest for a lot of plants. Things that were planted perhaps in the spring or a prior year. We start to see beautiful pumpkins and perhaps squash or I don't know, late summer corn. Those things can also show up in the fall. But it's also a time of abundance. And towards the end of fall, we are releasing, as the trees show, releasing leaves, letting go of the old, making room for the new. And it can also be a time of storing up for what we're ready to receive. In Chinese medicine, it's the element of metal, also reflects to the lungs. And lungs often hold grief and unresolved sadness. And this could be a time where that could very easily come to the surface, and absolutely allow those things to release and to be processed and to expand into joy. And in winter is often thought of a time of dormancy, when things are dormant, and some animals even go into hibernation. We think of plants that sometimes even look dead. You know what? But they're not. They're not. This is a time where things are actually happening beneath that frost layer in the dirt. And some roots can even grow during that time, during those darker times, in those deeper layers. There can even be growth, and there's movement. It may not look like it, but below the surface there's stuff going on as a result of what's happening prior. I found it interesting when I was doing some research that there's 5 different species in North America of frogs that actually survive the winter months by creating their own type of antifreeze. It allows them to become completely frozen, but yet they're not dead. And they don't even suffer any serious damage during that time. And they can be frozen for a long period of time, where their bodies create this own antifreeze. And I'm just curious, what is your antifreeze? What are the things in your life when things get tough and maybe things don't seem like they're changing or moving and are difficult? What are the things that you tap into that are your own antifreeze? And maybe there's some things you could develop if you don't think you have one. Maybe it's joy. Maybe it's unconditional love. Maybe it's compassion. Maybe it's the divine. Maybe it's hope. And in Chinese medicine, in the winter, water is the element of winter, and kidneys will reflect that. And courage and fear could come up because fear is often stored in the kidneys from unresolved things. And this can also be a time of housekeeping, when things are a little bit slower, things can happen more efficiently. So not only is there a purpose to these seasons in our lives, but a benefit. There's a verse in the Bible that says, to everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under heaven. There's also a song. So how much more beneficial can these things be if we can look at them as a gift and just temporary? Because life is constantly changing. And no matter what season you're in, know that another season is on its way, and to enjoy where you're at on the way to where you're going. Hope this has been helpful to you today. Sending you so much love. Take care.